We live?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, or almost afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll give folks a few minutes to hop on. I think we're gonna have some music. So get back from break, and we'll go
Hey,
through. Hey. Oh, our numbers just jumped. How's the session's gone so far? Anybody have anything that they've just like really enjoyed or looking forward to still? Oh man. We're missing some good playlists. I think that's what Ray probably went to go do. It was worry about the dog. We're both just kind of hoping that our dogs stay quiet long enough for us to give our presentations. Give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, to go see what was happening. Oh, bring this. I think I'm pretty glued to the window right now, barking at somebody.
Dot can say hi. This is Dot, my little mutt. She's sleeping on the bar. Say hi, Dot. She's like, what is going on here?
Dot's like, please let me. Please let me. But Dot needs to
keep me down.
Y'all, I heard some of Lexi's music. I heard the Bee Gees. I got to get on for that.
What's my sign? I'm a Libra. Right smack down in the middle, I'm a Libra.
Virgo in the house, yeah.
I wish I knew the rest of my stuff, like my rising and all. I don't. I just know I'm a Libra. So.
There's a lot of folks here, a part of Texas Rising, that can send you links to places where you can get all of your.
I'm sure. Yeah. I should get on that. All right. Well, should we go ahead and get started? Really
go ahead.
Are we ready, yeah. Folks? Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're super excited to be here. It's definitely been fun and challenging to explore and get creative with a virtual and digital summer institute. But y'all have totally made it worth it. It's been amazing. So my name is Carissa Lopez. I am the political director for the Texas Freedom Network. I'm a Texas Rising alum as well from UT Austin. So enjoy being here. I'll kick it over to Ray.
And hey, y'all, my name is Ray Martinez. I'm the Texas Rising director for the Texas Freedom Network. Been with TFN for about 5 years now, almost 5 years, and a Virgo. So if you weren't here before. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. This session is Texas Rising and the 2020 elections. We're going to give you all the information that you need about what we'll be doing over the next couple of months. We're both really excited about it. We know that a lot of other folks kind of know what's also going to happen and are very excited too. So for some of you, this might be a refresher. And for some of you who are new to us, this might be like the first time you ever hear about our election plans. So welcome and thank you for joining. let's see, I'm going to go on. Let's see. So we're going to talk about setting the stage really quick. Where is electoral politics and vote work situated in our organizing? Like, why do we do it? Is it important? All that good stuff. So if you remember, the first weekend, we talked a little bit about the repower triangle, and that's this triangle that's presented at the bottom right here. And really, we believe at Texas Rising that there are quite a few things that need to happen in organizing to build a fully fledged youth arm in Texas, youth powerhouse in Texas, youth movement in Texas. And we believe there are three components to that, right? There's community organizing, which is building relationships with peers on the ground, bringing new people into this into the base, educating folks and training folks up and all of that good stuff. That's building partnerships with other folks on the ground, whether that be on your campus or outside of campus, and just doing some good work with each other, kind of listening to what other folks in your community care about and using that to inform your work, right? So that's community organizing. Public policy advocacy is another part of building a strong movement of young people in Texas, right? That's making sure that we're going to our elected officials and holding them accountable to the things that young people want to see happen in their communities, right? In our communities. So that's a lot of advocacy at the state level, at the Texas State Legislature, or in your own city, at the county commissioner's court, or at the city council level, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that you can affect public policy. Some of it is visiting your legislative district and talking to your legislator in your hometown. Others is visiting your city council member and asking them about the issues that you care most about and asking them to advocate for you. A big piece of this movement building also is electoral organizing, right? And that's where we focus on making sure that every young person is registered to vote in Texas, and then making sure that young people know when and where the election is happening in their neighborhood, right? Know what they need to bring and what they can expect when they go to the ballot box on election day. So electoral politics is a big piece of this whole puzzle, as are all of the things here, right? And that's what this whole session is going to be about. Again, just a quick thing. All of this is held together by leadership development, right? So at every step of the way in the next couple of months, young people will be leading their electoral work, whether that's in the endorsements or training other young people how to do electoral work on the ground, whatever that is, right? We want to make sure that young people are at the center, young people are actually leading the movement, and not, so young people are leading the movement. And this is a part of that, right? The whole Summer Institute is a part of that leadership development. And then you'll go back home, you'll get off of Run the World and go and talk to your regional field coordinator or your campus organizer or field manager, and then, get plugged in. So electoral politics is what we're going to be talking about today. And just as a note, right? So not only, so the reason why we care about young people and electoral politics is because we believe that young people should be represented. Young people are not currently super represented, and we think that that's wrong, right? So we want to make sure that young people have elected officials that actually make laws that help us out, right? And also help our communities out, right? We're not just interested in ourselves, we're also interested in our community. So we want to see that our legislators actually reflect that and don't, ignore us when, they go to the state capitol or when they, go into their city council meetings. So we want to make sure that young people at every step of the way are represented. In addition to wanting young people to be represented, we know that there are some exciting movements that are happening when it comes to young people at the ballot box, right? So in 2018, we saw youth voter turnout tripled when compared to the 2014 midterm, which is just amazing, right? So 4 years, over the course of, 4 years, young people really, really started to get registered to vote and also like actually actualize that and went to go vote. Forward looking, we can see that by 2022, people under the age of 30 will account for a third of all eligible voters in Texas, which is just really powerful, right? If all that third of eligible voters in Texas was voting, then we'd actually see more representation, more young people, maybe some of the young people here a part of this session, attending this session or giving trainings in this session, right? We might see them in office, or, we may see them, we will continue to see them advocating at the different levels of government to make sure that our voices are actually represented. With that, youth voter participation can be a deciding factor in competitive races this year. Carissa's going to talk a little bit about already what happened this year, but things are exciting. Youth voter turnout is on the rise, and that's because a lot of folks here are working to make sure that that's happening, right? I see, all of our attendees, quite a few of our attendees are already trying to make this happen, right? Are reaching out to their peers and asking them to go and vote, or giving them information about when and where they can vote, and maybe sometimes who they can vote for, right? Or who might be the better choice when it comes to representing young people's needs. So there's a lot to look forward to. Before we get started into kind of like the rest of our presentation, I kind of wanted to define some terms so that we all are on the same page when we're talking about the things. So what is field and GOTV? So field, just in a nutshell, is the term for a department or a type of work that does outreach to people about the issues that they care about. So whenever we talk about field, think about it as outreach to people about issues, whether that may be voting or, in another piece, it might be about, advocacy for abortion access or whatever that may be, right? But field is just an all-encompassing term for work that happens to reach out to other people and bring them in, right? So what is GOTV? It's a commonly used acronym for Get Out the Vote, and that is the time right around election time, typically between early vote and election day, that folks are working hard to make sure that other folks are knowing all of those things that I mentioned earlier, right? Where you can vote, when you can vote, what you need to bring, who's on the ballot, all of those good things, right? So that's GOTV. GOTV looks like there's a lot of practices that conduct GOTV, and that looks like block walking, which is actually like physically knocking on a door, phone banks, text banks, events, and so the events can be right now for us, right, during COVID are all virtual, right? And right now we won't be block walking, so we won't be knocking on people's doors, but we're going to be doing the next best thing, which is phone banking, which is actually calling up a voter and talking to them, or texting a voter and texting a voter to make sure that they get all that good information. And then the last part is also targeted voter registration, right? Typically, we've done that on college campuses and in hotspots, but this year we're going all digital, so that's all online. A lot of digital ads that are happening around voter registration. So those are some ideas of generally what those things are. I think I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Carissa to talk about this slide.
Hey, so want to go ahead and define some other terms. So we're going to be doing two different types of field GOTV types of work as we move into election season, nonpartisan and candidate work. So we're going to be reaching out to young voters across the state in two different ways. Nonpartisan work, which has historically been the bulk of Texas Rising's work in election years, which is talking about certain issues, promoting general engagement, but not promoting any specific candidates. So our message historically has been more of get out and vote for the candidate of your choice. It's just important that you vote. We've been reaching out to young people across the state in that way for a long time. This year, we're growing our program and also going to be doing partisan and candidate work. Texas Rising Texas Rising Action will be endorsing candidates and promoting and specific candidates for election. So we'll be endorsing candidates, maybe some of the ones you're about to hear from after this in our town hall, and asking young people to get out and vote for those specific candidates. So that's when we say candidate, partisan work, nonpartisan work, this is what we mean. All right, next slide. Some context for a statewide look. So in 2018, we flipped 12 Texas House seats, 2 Texas Senate seats, and 2 congressional seats. So we actually had, Ray just talked about the turnout among young voters, and this is the result of that. So in 2020, we actually have a chance to flip the Texas House as a whole. So we need to protect the 12 seats we gained in 2020 and flip 10 more seats. Why is this important? So we can give a voice to important issues. For those of you who know the makeup of the rest of the Texas leadership, we're not quite there to flip the governor. That election's not till 2022, and then we still have the Senate. But this is a huge step in the direction of flipping the Texas House. Now, when we say flipping, we do mean flipping it to Democratic control, but part of when young people get engaged, part of that is also holding the Democrats accountable as well. As we all know, and we saw, we heard from one of the candidates we worked for in the runoff primary election that those are important too. And we'll talk some about some races we got engaged in this last cycle. But getting involved also means asking the hard questions of those that are supposed to be our friends and making sure that we're electing a truly progressive Texas House, and getting engaged and showing people that we're listening means that even the Democrats can't just sit on the sidelines, right? But then we also have some truly, truly bad elected officials that are Republicans that will, fight against abortion access, against LGBTQ people, are bad on criminal justice reform, for example. So it's really important that we stay engaged at all levels. But flipping the Texas House, we want to flip the whole House. Let's see. We lost our screen share, but I've got it up in front of me, so I'm just going to keep talking. It gives a voice to important issues, and then we can also block bad bills, right? That means that anything that comes down from Dan Patrick and Governor Greg Abbott, if we have a truly progressive Texas House, that means that stuff can't get through. This won't be the only work that we're doing, but it will be a really big part of it. Ray, do you need me to screen share, or are you good? You good? Okay. So our plans, you can go ahead and go to the next one. Our plans for 2020, we're going to play a really large role in the 2020 elections and in flipping some Texas House seats. Like I mentioned, we need to protect those 12 and flip 10, and Texas Rising is going to play a really large role in that. We're going to endorse candidates for Texas House, Texas Senate, State Board of Education, and more. We're not going to get into the endorsement process right now. A lot of you have already heard the presentation and what that's going to look like. We started that pre-COVID. Things have had to change a little bit, but we're still moving forward. As soon as Summer Institute is over, it's August 1st. August is going to be the big endorsement month. We've had to delay so heads up for those of you who have already been a part of those conversations. That's coming. We've just had to push it back a little bit to adjust for everything else. But we will be endorsing, and that endorsement process means that candidates will have to answer questionnaires, take meetings if you want them with students virtually. But this is going to be by and led by Texas Rising. So if and when Texas Rising decides to endorse, at a minimum, we're going to promote all of the Texas Rising Action endorsements on our social media and email it out to all of our members. So everybody that's a part of Texas Rising will know who is on the Texas Rising slate for endorsed candidates. And then back to our definitions, we will target and do candidate-specific field and GOTV for some Texas House races. Can't do all of them. There's 150 of them, but we will work and target specific ones. What's next? So just want to give you a little preview of some of the work that Texas Rising Action has already been doing. We kind of piloted the endorsement and field process in the primary runoff elections. Texas Rising Action and TFM PAC endorsed Jose Garza for Travis County DA, who you just heard from this morning as your keynote speaker. We sent over 150,000 texts to young people. So huge shout out to everybody that was a part of that. I know it wasn't just folks in Austin. There were folks from Dallas and other regions sending texts to elect Jose Garza for district attorney. And he won with over 68% of the vote, right? And then you can see in that, hopefully you can see, I don't know how small it is on your end, but the under 40 voter turnout is the light blue section on that pie chart. That's the majority of the vote. So young voters are the reason that Jose Garza is going to be our new Travis County DA, right? And they won this election, and now Travis County is going to have one of the most progressive district attorneys in the entire country. One of the other races that we worked on was in Senate District 27 down in the Rio Grande Valley. We endorsed Sarah Stapleton Barrera for Senate District 27 in the RGV. We weren't successful, but we were close. I mean, this is a race where Sarah challenged Senator Eddie Lucio, a 30-year incumbent. He's part of dynasty politics at its finest. And so Texas Rising Action really made a name for themselves and moved the needle by so much, right? Like they put up a great fight. They scared the heck out of the incumbent. And he knows that young people, him refusing to meet with young people, he's refused to meet with Texas Rising several times, both in Austin and in the district. He's bad on everything, and that he knows that those actions have consequences because of the work that the activists on the ground are doing. So they made a name for themselves and set precedent that change is coming, and elected officials better listen. What do we got next? I'm going to turn it back over to Ray now.
So I know that we kind of went over a couple of these already at the beginning when we talked about GOTV and what did that mean. But just to let you guys know, historically and before COVID and coronavirus happened, we have done in the past a lot of in-person GOTV and voter registration. And whenever VR is up there, it means voter registration. Just a jargon giraffe myself. But yeah, so historically we've done that all in person, right? We've had in-person events and voter registration on college campuses and hotspots, and we've done block walking and dorm storms and phone banks, all of those good things in person. This year we're all digital this year. We want to make sure that everybody stays safe and gets out the vote at the same time. So all of our events will be digital. So what do you ask what is Texas Rising going to do in the 2020 election? We're going to be doing a combination of candidate-specific and nonpartisan work. We're going to be outreaching to young BIPOC voters. We're going to be registering voters online through phone and text banks. Some of you guys are already doing that right now. We're going to be running digital ads to kind of run parallel to that phone bank and text bank work that we're doing that encourage young people to, register to vote online, as much of online voter registration as we have in Texas, which is just filling out a form and printing that onto another voter registration form, sending that to them in the mail. But yeah, so we'll be registering voters online and using digital ads to kind of run parallel to our phone and text work. We're going to text and call hundreds of thousands of voters to GOTV for the 2020 election. So just be on the lookout for that. There's going to be a lot of text banks, a lot of phone banks that we'll be doing. We'll be doing the universes that we'll be reaching out to in those hundreds of thousands of voters will be both cold and warm universes. So when I talk about cold universe of folks, that means that they're people who we probably have never talked to before but want to start talking to. And then warm means anybody who we have talked to. So like everybody who's attending this session will be considered a warm person that we have actually communicated with before. That is kind of a definition between cold and warm. We're also going to be doing a big digital pledge to vote campaign to get voters excited for the 2020 election, and we will be expanding our field team. So those are some good things to look forward to on the horizon. So what's next? If you haven't already seen, the November election is in 93 days. That's whoa. It's just kind of ridiculous how quickly time has passed over this year. So yeah, we're 93 days out from the election. And if you are interested in doing some of the things that I just talked about in the last slide, go ahead and get involved with your local Texas Rising chapter. If you go to texrising.org, you'll be able to find chapters that are in your area. And then I'm also most assuredly, I am very confident that somebody will also be reaching out to you from our team to see, hey, do you want to get involved with us? A regional field coordinator, campus organizer, or field manager might schedule a one-on-one with you to talk about, who you are, and how you want to, how you might want to come into this space with us. And so just be on the lookout for that. But by all means, if you're like, after this training, you're like, I'm ready to go, go to texrising.org and you'll see where the chapters near you are, and you can reach out to us there. Amanda Garcia, I'm just going to answer a quick question. Well, actually, we can just go into the question slide. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them. Amanda is asking, is there a formal process to get involved with our locals chapter, or can we just volunteer? Amanda, there is a kind of a process. It's not exactly formal, but probably a regional field coordinator or campus organizer will reach out to you and just see if they can schedule a time to talk to you individually, or if there's like a chapter meeting that's happening for a registered student organization, they might invite you to that so you can meet everybody on the team if there's one coming up. So there's a bunch of different ways that you might be welcomed into this space depending on where you are. Lexi actually just dropped a link to fill out in the chat. So if you are in San Marcos, please fill that out. Ivy just shared both her email and Rick Galvan's email, who are in the Austin region. So you can reach out to one of them to get involved too. So no formal process, but yeah, you'll be invited in. Any other questions? Lexi also dropped a link to a San Antonio doc that you can sign up with. So if you're in San Antonio, you can sign up at that link, and Lexi or somebody in San Antonio will reach out to you. Does anybody have any questions? What is your target number for new registration? We're looking still to do 100,000 voters, and we'll be doing a lot of digital ads to try and get to that number. So still like to aim high.
Texas does, a lot of you probably know because you weren't able to, Texas does not have online voter registration. So we are doing everything we can within the law to do online voter registration. So yeah, we're keep getting engaged, and maybe in 2021 during the legislative session, we'll finally get online voter registration. So we're going to be huge advocates for that. But yeah, we're being told on our end that we have 10 seconds left in this session. There's a break with more music coming up. So, and then we will jump into our fireside chat with our candidates that we're hoping to elect to help flip the Texas House. So be sure to join us for that. We have Alyssa Simmons from Tarrant County, Akila Basie from Houston, Janet Dudding from Brazos County, and Selena Montoya from San Antonio. So we will see you in a few minutes. I'll be moderating that, so I'll see y'all again in a few minutes. Bye, y'all. Ray, I'm going to join that other one.